we're saying is if someone's got stress and, you know, issues, or they've got problems with their body, like no amount of mission clarity is going to get that person over the line when it comes to that. You know what they would like? A safe space to be able to bring that about and have that conversation. Like managers need to be aware when people are just not well, or they've got ways of working that are unhealthy and they're actually counterproductive to that. You know, we really need everyone to go at it. But if people just don't have energy, or there are things that need to be addressed, you need to know as a manager how to have that conversation.
This is another episode of the Formula Impact podcast from Founders Pack. My guest today is Arosha. Arosha is an entrepreneur that graduated recently from Y Combinator. So we have another YC grad here.
Yay!
Yay! Okay, now you are in the Netherlands, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
All right. So for people that don't know, who is Arosha and what's the company that you're working on?
Yeah, okay, great. So I'm Arosha, and I am the CEO and co-founder of Quan, so one half of the founding team. A little bit about me: I am a future of work buff. I'm an ex-strategy consultant. I've been working on the topic of well-being and team performance for many, many years. I even have my own consultancy in that. And then a couple of years ago when COVID hit, and then there was this kind of mass realization. Mass realization that there's no such thing as well-being at work. Basically, there's just one well-being. One person.
Yeah.
And then kind of seeing that organizations actually haven't been measuring the right kind of stuff, and perks are great, but they don't address fundamental underlying issues. That was the birth of the idea of Quan. So what Quan is in a one-liner, we're an end-to-end platform that improves well-being and team performance. And the way we do that is there's two things which make us unique. The first thing is we have a pretty complete holistic self-assessment that we developed, which covers the 5 dimensions of well-being, so the body, the mind, meaning, self-fulfillment, social connectedness. And then we provide insights for the individual, the team, and the organization. And then we match these 3 parties with proven interventions to actually improve well-being. So that's it.
Wow. Well, we can wrap it all up then. Okay, so that's really interesting. So, you know, I've seen a lot of like wellness platforms and apps and attempts to try to address this. So like in your case, was it COVID or what was it, something else? It sounded like you were starting on this path before.
Yeah.
So what was the big motivation here to pursue this?
Yeah, it goes back to when I've been in like digitization and change for a long time, and been researching basically why some companies are better at innovation than others. I became obsessed to the point that I sort of read as much as I could, watched as much as I could, ended up flying to the States and meeting 25 leaders in startup scale-ups, large tech companies, asking them like, what do you do? Which is so great. And then what I discovered was that these organizations treated the people function like they did the product function. They used psychology, data, experimentation to develop great ways of working. And at that time, I knew that there were shortcuts done on well-being, but I couldn't put my finger on it because I was sort of impressed by all of the perks. But then when COVID hit and the perks essentially evaporated overnight, like you couldn't go to the fancy office. There was no free food. There was no sleep pod. The sleep pod was in bed and it was next to your
stay
desk.
home. Get out of bed.
Suddenly, you know, it all came to light that we weren't truly measuring how people are, and we weren't really pointing to interventions to improve the way of working. And that was the realization that, oh, things need to improve.
So there's kind of two assumptions in my head. One is a lot of the unhappiness that's in workplace is maybe a result of too much digital technology. So that may be incorrect. Or is it just that digital technology is exposed like bad culture?
I wouldn't say that digital technology is the reason behind anything. I think that various platforms are used as we've got that in place, so the problem will sort itself out. But culture is essentially defined by behavior, right? So bad culture is just bad behavior. It's just aggregated bad behavior.
Aggregated bad behavior.
That's what
So
it is.
right. It's like
Culture,
get bad behavior from the leadership and it goes throughout.
right? Yeah,
That's a reaction to that.
Right. Culture is the majority of the way that your people behave. That's your culture, you know. So you can't say that it's a result of slack. It is because of the values and the principles that are underlying the way things are done. And I think yeah, we should be able to improve that. And we cannot assume that because we have a bunch of nice perks and the latest technology, this stuff's going to resolve itself. It doesn't. You need to embed it into how you train your people, how people are rewarded. And I think we need to start with, are we measuring the right things, right? Once you have a good measure on how people actually are, then it is, and now how do we change people to adopt better practices? And I think that's what Quan is absolutely about.
So if an organization like adopts Quan, I guess first off, what does it look like? Like, what is it, a SaaS? Is it what's the experience?
It's a B2B SaaS. So what happens is as soon as a company signs up, they sign up teams, yes, and then an employee will get an invite to complete their assessment. As soon as they complete it, they see a report about themselves, about here you're tracking on the various different topics. And here are some interventions to help you drive positive behavioral change. But what becomes super interesting is at the team level. At the team level, you get the aggregated insights. And this really goes down to, you know, a large portion are suffering from bad sleep or you know, stress at work or whatever it is. And then Quan essentially works with the manager and the team on how to have a conversation about that and how to develop better ways of working. So what you're essentially doing is you're pinpointing the Achilles heel of the team, because issues with productivity, issues with performance, as much as, you know, companies like to focus on sharpening the OKRs, sharpening the KPIs.
I was going to bring up OKRs. Is that what?
Yeah, no, like at the end of the day, if people aren't sleeping well, they've got anxiety, like no amount of sharpening your KPI is going to help. So well-being is not a fluffy topic, it's actually impacting how people work. You need to address that.
So how much of what you found is people, not having a mission or being connected to the organizational mission?
Not much.
No, okay.
No,
because everyone tries to have a mission, right? And think,
yeah,
hey, let's all achieve this mission, but then they have no skin in the game, right? Like, it's like, give me my paycheck and give me my work.
Yeah, and I think, you know, you can, especially with earlier stage startups, a mission is super critical. Like, you know, you join that founder and you join the ability, like that thing that what I do is going to have a direct impact on this company, it's going to change the world, right?
One degree of separation between that and you, right?
Absolutely, everybody has influence, and I think as you become, you know, like a
bigger
Procter & Gamble of the world, you know, you might move away from that. But when what we're saying is, if someone's got stress and, you know, issues, or they've got problems with their body, like no amount of mission clarity is going to get that person over the line when it comes to that. You know what they would like? A safe space to be able to bring that about and have that conversation. Like managers need to be aware when people are just not well, or they've got ways of working that are unhealthy, and they're actually counterproductive to that. You know, we really need everyone to go at it. But if people just don't have energy, or there are things that need to be addressed, you need to know as a manager how to have that conversation. And especially in scale-ups, startups and scale-ups, a lot of managers aren't trained for that. Like,
Sure. Yeah.
they're new, they're technical, they're, you know, so yeah.
So what, part of I could see part of the reaction being to this is, well, listen, if we're not all working towards the same thing, we're going to fail. So at what point do you have that switch where, okay, we're past the mission, we're approaching it. Now we got to make sure everyone on board is good. Like, is there a point, or is it always the same? Is it always?
No. So mission is hygiene,
What do
right?
you mean by that?
That means that any startup that is in existence, if you want to be I don't know what percentage actually succeed, a clear mission is sort of like critical to your survival. Like,
It's a start. Yeah.
It's like just hygiene. Like, if you don't have that,
I
like,
get it. Okay.
if you don't know what problem you're solving, like, why do you exist?
You're in trouble.
Yeah.
A lot of companies don't, though.
Yeah, then you're in trouble, right? Because at the point, like you need a problem worth solving, and then you need an amazing team to solve it. And guess what? Smart people like to work with other smart people.
Right.
Smart people will figure out very quickly if you, the founder, don't know what you're doing, and they'll leave, right? So
Sure.
let's just call that hygiene, right?
Got it. Yeah. Table stakes.
Right, exactly. Like, just know why you exist. But when you get a great group of people together that are like, believe in it, they want to work on it, and they work night and day, you're going to make sure that they're well. Right.
Yeah.
How do you know that they're well? How do you know that you are working optimally? That is what we're about.
Beautiful. All right. So what stage is the company at?
So we are still pre-product market fit, right? We've just come out of YC, just about to close our seed round. We had a really good start this year, where even before launching V1, we launched beta in January, and we signed up 22 customers, 100,000 ARR. Yep. Okay. Which is great. And then we launched V1 a couple of months ahead of schedule. And now, we've got customers, teams, hundreds of people on the platform. We're getting the insights. So, I'm responsible for calls with our customers. So I speak to a lot of founders, chief people officers of scale-ups, but also team leads of teams in larger companies. And we're getting validation about the problem space, and also the approach that we're taking. The next 6 to 12 months, it's all about sharpening the product and getting it to a stage that it's very, very clear. This is what we do, and this is what they love. And then hopefully after that, scale.
I love it. That is a very clear roadmap. All right. So I want to be conscious of your time. It is July 4th, by the way. So what day is this?
Absolutely. Happy Independence Day. Yeah.
And happy belated Canada Day. That was Monday or Friday. Okay. Today's Monday. All right. So if you could give founders only one piece of advice, what would that advice be?
Leverage the founder network. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I love it.
Yeah, because as I sort of, we were talking briefly before the recording started, like Lucy and I are actively speaking to more and more founders that are in this space, that are a little bit ahead of us. And they're kind enough to give us, 30-minute interviews and sharing insights. And it's just sharpening our own thinking. We're learning from their mistakes. We're getting insights. I mean, leverage that. And so we're drinking our own Kool-Aid right now on that. And it's just been hugely helpful, beneficial, and also a number of those founders are turning around saying, "Hey, Quan's super interesting. I'd like to give this a go." So yeah, if you're ICP is also So it's been really rewarding. So network of founders is leverage that.
That's incredible. Okay, you're mainly focused on commercialization and going to customers, it sounds like, and your partner is mainly on product.
Yeah.
What's one piece of advice that you can give founders about getting your first customer?
Yeah. Leverage your network.
Same thing.
Yeah. And it depends on who your ICP is, but warm
What's
introductions
ICP?
work. Sorry, ideal customer profile. But yeah, that was one of the pieces of advice from YC as well, which is like, before you start spending money on advertising and marketing, just remember that you don't have a product that's that good yet. If the Stripe founders beg their friends to start using Stripe at the beginning, then you surely can too. That's
good insight.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we did. Like we also went to our friends, previous colleagues, just people that we really that were either interested in the topic, that seemed to be the ideal customer, and we said, hey, we're working on this, would you give it a go? And then they introduced us to others, and we still only have like 30 customers, but
that's huge though.
Yeah, for absolutely for this stage. But those warm introductions count, and some of the founders that I've been speaking to, it's still 90% sales inbound through referrals.
Oh, okay.
And for a large percentage of them, it's founder-led sales for a long time.
It's funny you say that. So I have this, obviously if someone refers business to you, you kind of skip most of the sales cycle, right? So we always talk about sales process, and it's like and then the marketing process. And the further away I get from the customer, the more uncomfortable I personally get, which is, oh, there's awareness, there's consideration, then there's decision, and then you give it to me in sales. And I'm really uncomfortable with the further I am away from the point where you know me. So if you can have referrals at scale, as in my head is, how would I come up with referrals at scale? Because those are the best customers. They're going to be the most honest with you and personal, and they're probably going to stick the longest as long as you do a good job. And they're probably more tolerant too, right? When you have problems.
And we're still figuring it out, Michael.
Sure.
But we think, based on the founder conversations, community has a big role to play in that.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's great news. All right. Well, I want to be conscious of your time. As I mentioned, I know this is an important day for everybody not to be on Zoom calls. So how do people get in touch with you?
Well, www.quanwellbeing.com is, we've got a contact form there, but if you want to drop me a line, the best thing is just search for Arosha Brouwer on LinkedIn and send me a LinkedIn message, because the email address is long.
And we will include all this in your show notes so people have an easy way to find you. All right, so the final thing is, when we have interesting founders on, we like you to introduce us to other interesting founders that would be a great future guest of the Form Your Own Pack podcast. So who would you like to nominate as a future guest?
Then it would be Karthik from Envision. They're working on really cool technology, basically glasses that read to blind people.
Oh, wow. Okay. And is Kara, how do you pronounce the name?
Karthik, Karthik.
Oh my goodness. I'm going to definitely have to spell that again. So, all right. Well, Envision's founders, you guys have been nominated, or you have specifically been nominated as a future guest of the Form Your Own Pack podcast. Arosha, thank you so much. I really appreciate you spending your time with us, and I look forward to following your journey.
Awesome. Thanks.